What's up, everybody? It's your boy Marques Houston. Right now, you're watching MadameNoire.com. The inspiration behind Give Your Love a Try was, the story is about a guy and a girl, kind of like friends. They know each other a little bit, and from my perspective, it's kind of saying, there's this girl I know. I'm out there running the streets. I'm doing my thing. I kind of notice her. She notices me. I'm just like, I'm feeling you, and you feeling me. And it's like I finally decide to, I'm gonna give your love a try. Like, it's been a minute. We've been kind of, friends for a minute, but I think it's time to take it to the next level. What to expect from my new music? It's definitely different from my last album. I took a break to pursue my film, television career and get in more executive producing, behind the scenes. But everywhere I would go, my fans would hit me up. If I do shows or on my Instagram, my Twitter, fans is like, we miss your music. We got to come back to the scene with some music. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back. Taking that break allowed me to, grow as an artist. It's hard to say as an artist what's different from the last album because when you make music, you just like to make great music. I try to just make the best music that I can. And with this album, I think the biggest difference is it's not about who's on the records. It's not about the features. It's not about, because the industry can be so political at times nowadays, with who's dating who's doing what. I feel like the industry has gotten away from the music. We are in the music industry. So I wanted to make an album that's really music driven. Like we brought in live instruments and, the producers and writers on this project were great. And we just got in the studio and made a great masterpiece of music. And I feel like that's the biggest step up from, where I have been. You always get nervous because you feel like, you get in the studio and you love it, but it's like, you can play it for somebody and they'll be like, you know what I'm saying? So, it's not too different, but it's a lot more mature. It's a lot more of a mature sound for me and what people are used to. So, I always get nervous on what the people are gonna think, because you never know what to expect. I just thank God because God has blessed me with an outstanding career with longevity. I've been able to do this for 20 years plus and still be successful at it and still have my loyal fans out there to support me. So, I thank God every day for that. But, I think it's more important for longevity and staying in that good realm, just to really put out good music. Sometimes as an artist, you can lose yourself in your own world and in your own musical world, and you can start just putting out stuff that only you like and that nobody else is feeling. I've seen a couple of artists do that sometimes, but with me, I always like to, follow what's going on in the music, nowadays. I don't really listen to a lot of artists, more than I listen to just all music, period. Listen to the radio, just kind of seeing what's hot and what's not. I think that's important, staying in tune and in touch with what's going on around you. I never said I dated Beyoncé. In this business, I'll say this. In this business, you cannot be an artist without rumors. And I've had so many rumors that have been, that we're not going to discuss, but have been said about me, I've been a part of. And I sit back and I'll be like, really? Like, where did you hear this stuff from? Because I never said it. People don't have anything better to do than to sit and look into our lives as entertainers and try to make up stuff. I've been getting that question a lot. I can never say never because you just never want to say never because then, you'll be like, that's not going to happen. If it happens, then you look like you just full of it. But what I can say is we still friends. We all still homies and, them would be my boys for life. And, you just never know what's going to happen. I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yeah. You just leave it out there. I would say Sister Sister because that was my most memorable acting experience because I learned so much. I was so young. I started that show when I was 12. And it really, really, groomed me into becoming an actor in this business. Being a child celebrity is difficult because you're a kid, you don't really know what the business is, you don't know anything, you're just trying to have fun. So, I was blessed enough to have a great team, great management team, my parents, my family around me that supported me, that I could really, soar in the acting business. So it really, really taught me a lot about working with people, networking with people, working with different networks and just, it taught me that it's not just about your talent, but it's also how you carry yourself, it's the people that you're around and really your appreciation for your craft.